Hi, in this session we're going to look at how the life of a student has changed over the last 10 or 15 years. Parents can potentially be a source of stress for teachers, but I wonder if teachers are also stressed by some of the way that children are behaving these days, some of the way that they're unable to manage their emotions. So could you speak a little bit about how you've seen children change in the last 15 years? And
Of course, I'll start from the kindergarten. Yeah. Now, what I have perceived out of my experience from my neighborhoods and friend circle, every mother, as soon as the child is born, that lorry is through the mobile phone. The rhymes, they are through the mobile phones. The stories, they are from the laptop or the mobile phones. And that 220 grams of gray matter which each one of us is having is so much excited with those audio visual that when the child comes to the class, sitting properly just for 10 minutes is not easy. So a teacher has to deal with those 25 students, those who are not ready to sit down. After that audio visual things, that book seems to be very static to the child and he is not interested in that. Now he has seen so much jumping, hopping, doing. Holding a pencil is very, very difficult for the child. Now I remember my timings, then my daughter's time, when up to grade 5 we used to have that emphasis on handwriting, and class 1 the children, they were writing the sentences. Today they are speaking very efficiently, their wit, those toddlers, that's very impressive, quite vocal, but writing is not on the agenda at the moment. So we are waiting, let's see, the system will change in India and we'll have the assessment and the homeworks digitally. In the senior classes, adolescence age, when we talk about hooking up on the social media. When we talk to the children, we did some research, when we realized some concern. From class 6th onwards, the students are spending on an average 1.5 to 2 hours on social media, maybe Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram. So they are having many friends to whom they do not know, but they do not have that real friends with them. They are working on so many projects very proudly, collaboratively, but in the real life, if you see the collaboration amongst the class students, projects are done collaboratively, they are getting good grades on those projects. But in the real life, that collaboration is missing. The behavior wise, as I said in the beginning as well, we have encouraged the children that you must think critically, you should speak your mind. In that process, they are becoming more rude. They say anything and everything which comes to their mind, they have the right to speak. So they are questioning the teacher, why shall I do it? We really wanted it, that why the children are not speaking, they must speak out. Now they are speaking, and the tone and the pitch, that we have never trained them. Whenever, somehow, if I rephrase it, they understood that they need to react on everything. Yeah. Whereas we missed somewhat that they should reflect. If something they are thinking critically, or they have to speak their mind, first reflect and then they must express themselves. So these are the changes which we find in the student.
I think if I think about my own experience as a child and now I look at my children, the amount of exposure the kids have today, it's just amazing. And while there are so many benefits to having access to so much information, so much knowledge, so much content, at the same time there is obviously the dark looming side of it as well. And it becomes very difficult to parent at your own pace. I may have had an opinion on when I wanted to talk to my child about certain things. I now no longer have that luxury, because whether I talk to my children, whether it's about sex education or it's about gender inequality or it's about any other social issues, I've lost control. I cannot set my own pace depending on my family or my choice or the narrative that I would like to have, because my child is hearing everything that is available at the click of a button. And I have no control over what they've heard. I have no control over what they think. And so now what I've started to do is I've started to talk about things a lot earlier with my children than when it happened for us. I think that's the only way I'm sort of trying to build some immunity there, that before you get the wrong impression from unfiltered sources, let me be the source of information for you and provide you support and give you answer any questions. And I can't ever remember having very open conversations with my parents, but I was given access to some reference material. But with my children, I'm encouraging them to ask me whatever questions you want, because I would like to provide you that answer. Don't go seeking that answer from anyone else. It's better that you hear it from me. And I think the other thing that's happening, of course, with more social media, luckily my children are still young, but cyberbullying is a very big challenge. From my own peer group, I do hear other parents whose children are older, and cyberbullying is while it may not be it may not seem very big to a parent that a certain comment was made about a particular child, but little by little those negative comments that keep coming from their peer group, they just chip away at their own confidence. And it's very sad to see how a very confident young girl will now suddenly undergo so much change because of all this noise that's coming in through social media, and of course being exposed to what ideals of beauty are like. For example, there is just so much that invisible pressure is also there through social media, and I really wonder how these children, how the next generation will grow up with all these challenges that they've had to face.
If I have to reflect as a psychologist, what is students and children are going through because of so much change in the environment and the lifestyle. So as you were mentioning that so early they are being any lorry is to be through iPad or laptop or something mobile, and when they are coming to school, preschools, they are not able to sit, so their attention span has also reduced a lot, and it's very difficult for them to sit and sustain their attention for longer duration, and impulsivity has increased, restlessness and reactivity. Again, if we see for the adolescent, if you say something, immediately there will be a reaction and all. They are finding it difficult to hold their impulses and urges, so they react on their impulses and all. And again, so much of information from social media is there that they are not finding the right ways how to process that information. Again, information is there, awareness is there, what's happening around the world, and they are able to see, they are feeling angry in terms of emotions, they are feeling disappointed, they are feeling there's a lot of they are aware about their uncomfortable emotion, but there's a gap, there's a link is not there how to manage these emotions. Basically they know that okay, this makes me feel uncomfortable, this makes me feel angry, and there is a lot of mistrust also developing. If you look at the peer relationship and all those things, because of competitiveness, they are finding it difficult to trust in relationship. If something goes wrong in relationship, they are not able to have a better conflict resolution skills and all. They will just feel like okay, let's finish it off and all those things. So these are the things, if we, whatever you have shared the information, this is how, like, society and the technology is impacting the children, the way they are growing up in this scenario, And then there's again a gap between how they connect with themselves also. So there's no time to sit and reflect what actually I'm doing and I'm supposed to do. It's all leading to a lot of depression, stress, and one of the research shows that in India almost around 48% of school going students are going through depression and all those things. And that's a huge number, and in every 55 minutes one student is committing suicide also. So that where mental health need and happiness, well-being is so important for children and all.
And you know what you said, Soumya, about not having time to even explore who they are. I have a lot of friends who schedule extracurricular activities for their children to such an extent that even the mother's life is also, very, she's just literally driving her children from one class to the other after school hours. And there is no time for that child to even feel bored. So this whole overstimulation, both through digital and social media and through this, desire that parents have that they should have access to so many extracurricular activities, kuch rehna nahi chahiye.
Around 20 years back, I was also doing the same as a mother when I was taking my daughter from one class to another class on alternate days. But then the child's choice was taken into consideration. Then what was the objective, and the sinking of that skill was absorbed. Today, if the parent is doing so, it is not because the child's interest, it is basically their own desire, or they want to put their child somewhere so that they can get into another activity or they can complete their other work. So that's the thing, because they want some free time, that's the reason they are putting the child to 1, 2 and 3.
Low sense of frustration tolerance also, because if I'm getting bored, I need immediately something new, because I can't sit free, and that create a lot of anxiety and boredom also. And sitting and doing nothing, it's like they can't even attachment. Yes, they can't even think of doing that, and that's what our children need it actually, to sit and reflect what's happening, and then that will create a lot of space within themselves and their environment to pick up what is right for them, to choose and make wise decisions also. Right now, everything is done in so much of impulsivity. Whatever I have to do it, I have to do it right now. There's no patience to wait and see how to take the decision and to how to maintain everything even like.
So here are the takeaways for life as a student. We've looked at how children develop predominantly based on the confluence of 3 separate environments. So child development happens based on what's happening in their home, what their home environment is like, what's happening in school and what the school psychological climate is like, and what sort of community influences children may be exposed to. Children, especially more so than adults, may struggle to distinguish their real identities from their virtual selves, especially as the world that they're born in is so pervaded by technology that they're exposed themselves to phones and iPads and games at very young ages, almost at the age of 1. They may struggle to establish good quality relationships and demonstrate empathy, and some of this may be because of spending lots of time online and perhaps not as much in real life interventions with their peers as they used to before. This leads to also increased impulsivity, poor frustration tolerance, and we now know that conditions that are well-established psychological conditions such as depression are today diagnosed in schools between a prevalence of around 10 to 20%.